Hey, I'm Alex Higgins, and I'm so glad you're here. If you've ever felt like wellness is just a maze of pressure, plans, and perfectionism, especially if you've always felt a little bit outside the norm, you're in the right place. Because what I'm about to share with you is not another quick fix program or a list of rules to follow. This is about building a routine of health and self trust that actually lasts because it's built for you, not against you. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through why most professionals struggle with time, energy, and consistency, and how to reclaim them. How to create habits you'll actually want to keep, even when life gets messy. How to eat, move, and live in ways that feel good and stick for life. And why self trust is the foundation that makes all of this possible. And at the end, if you're ready to stop chasing wellness and actually live it, I'll tell you how we can work together. Now, in order to build some trust with you, I'm actually going to cut into another video where I show you a few out of the many clients that have transformed their health using this program.
Okay, so Clara told me I had an incredible experience working with Alex Higgins as a health and wellness coach. Before working with Alex, I struggled with work-life balance and emotional eating issues, and I gained clarity, focus, and discipline, and I achieved the goals we set together. I also noticed positive changes in my overall happiness. And Linda shared, I made discoveries and delved into my own health in a way I never had before. I shed some pounds and some tears as I started to build more physical and emotional strength and resilience. I developed some great habits and I'm feeling more in control and connected to my body's needs. So, this work doesn't just sound good in theory, it's changing lives in real, tangible ways. And it worked for my clients because it worked for me. My name is Alex Higgins, and I'm a queer, gender expansive person and a certified health coach. But for a long time, I couldn't see my way out of cycles of self neglect and shame. I grew up thinking that I had to mold myself to fit in. That really pushed me into people pleasing, overwhelm, and eventually self destructive patterns. 10 years ago, I was burned out, anxious, and completely disconnected from my body. I thought the missing piece was willpower. I tried yoga challenges. I tried juice cleanses. I tried rigid fitness routines. But the harder I pushed, the worse I actually felt. Here's what I realized. The problem wasn't discipline. The problem was trust. I just didn't trust myself. I was chasing plans outside of me instead of restoring the relationship within me. So when I shifted to practices that aligned with me, like meditation, nervous system regulation, and compassion, consistency became a lot more natural. And that changed everything. I've since studied meditation at a Buddhist retreat center. I've completed advanced training and received a master's degree in integrative health. And I've built a career helping professionals restore self trust and build habits that actually last. So before I was feeling overwhelmed, stuck in perfectionism, and hiding my true gender identity. I was miserable, I was chasing fad diets and rigid routines. And after that, I gained back over 10 hours a week. I created a more flexible eating rhythm. I became a marathon runner and triathlete, and most importantly, I feel grounded, feel intentional, and I feel deeply connected to my inner compass. And that's what I help my clients create too. Here are some pictures of me running my first marathon there on the left and during a transition in the triathlon that I did on the right. Okay, so let's talk about some real results. Let me tell you about a few of my clients. One of them is Linda. Linda came to me navigating menopause and burnout. She said it felt like a weight had been lifted after our sessions. She built habits that stuck and, without completely obsessing over it, ended up losing weight in the process. Clara, who was struggling with emotional eating and balance, found calm and consistency and began hitting goals she thought were out of reach. And another one of my clients, Sheila, who had lived for years with food anxiety, finally felt free. She learned to listen to her body's signals instead of fighting them. And these aren't just isolated cases. They're what happens when you stop forcing yourself into rigid rules and instead build from your own foundation. Sound familiar? Maybe you see yourself in some of this. Maybe you're tired of starting and quitting health plans. Maybe you're frustrated by constantly feeling fatigued or feeling like you're always behind. Maybe you're just craving an approach that finally sees all of you, not just your weight or your symptoms. And maybe you're feeling overwhelmed and just not sure where to start. If that sounds familiar, I want to show you what's actually possible. Now, I've broken up my program into 3 really important pillars. The first pillar is really about reclaiming time and energy without burning out. So you're probably wondering why you always feel short on time and running on fumes. You've bought the planners, you've downloaded the apps. Maybe you've even tried color coding your calendar or time blocking every minute of your day. And yet you still feel stretched thin, right? Here's the thing. The problem isn't lack of time. The problem is energy leaks. So, the American Psychological Association reports that multitasking alone can reduce productivity by up to 40%. Think about that. Almost half of your effort disappears when you're splitting your focus. And yet, most professionals are multitasking constantly. Emails open, Slack pings, texts coming in, and meetings stacked back to back. So it's not that you don't have enough hours in the day, it's that your nervous system is constantly in on mode. And you're drained before you even get to the things that matter most. I'll give you a personal example. Early in my coaching career, I thought the way to prove my worth was to say yes to everyone. I overbooked myself. If a client wanted late night sessions, I'd do it. If someone emailed me at 10 p.m., I would reply. Pretty soon, I was running on fumes, and I had nothing left to give to them or to myself. And here's the kicker. None of that overgiving made me a better coach. It just made me exhausted. So, what's the way out? The way out starts with identifying your time leaks. Here's what I walk clients through. You track your time for 3 days. You don't overthink it, you just jot down where your hours go. And almost everyone finds 2 to 3 activities that drain them more than they realized. Next, you reallocate 3 to 5 non-essential tasks weekly. Maybe it's the endless committee meetings. Maybe it's doing everything at home yourself instead of asking for help. Next, you set 2 to 3 clear, kind boundaries. One client of mine set a no emails after 6 p.m. rule. At first, she was terrified. Would people think she wasn't committed? But what actually happened was her productivity during the day went up because she knew there was a cutoff. The next step is to add 2 to 4 micro recovery breaks in the course of your day. And I'm talking small. 5 minutes to stretch, a short walk around the block, closing your eyes and breathing between meetings. These little resets regulate your nervous system so you're not running in overdrive all day. And the benefits? My clients regularly gain back 4 to 5 hours per week. They don't just feel less busy, they feel lighter. They have more energy for their kids, their partners, their creative projects. They stop living in a constant state of low-grade overwhelm. So if you've been blaming yourself for not being disciplined enough with time, stop. It's not about pushing harder. It's about plugging the leaks and protecting your energy. That's the first foundation of lasting wellness. Next, let's talk about habits. So, most people think they just need more willpower, more discipline. If they could just try harder, they'd finally stay consistent. But here's the reality: 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by mid February. Not because people are lazy, but because massive, rigid changes are rarely sustainable. Think about it. You've probably tried overhauling your whole routine overnight. You've probably tried copying someone else's perfect morning routine from Instagram. You've probably tried forcing yourself to power through with sheer willpower. And what happens? It feels exhausting. You start strong for a week or two, and then life happens, and suddenly you're back at square one. Here's the shift: habits don't have to be massive to matter. In fact, the smaller they are, the more likely they'll stick. When I wanted to start meditating, for example, I used to force myself into these long 30-minute sits, and every time I'd fail. It felt like climbing a mountain every morning. And then I decided to try something different. 2 minutes right after my morning tea. That was it. And you know what? 2 minutes ended up turning into 5. And eventually 5 minutes turned into 10. And now meditation is really an anchor in my life. And this is what I teach my clients. You try to build just one micro habit per week, something that takes 5 to 10 minutes max. That's it. Just one new rhythm. And then just shrink it down. If you want to journal, start with writing one sentence. If you want to move, start with 2 minutes of stretching. The other important key is to anchor it. Attach the new habit to something you already do. You can use the time while the coffee is brewing to stretch. You can do breath work right after brushing your teeth. The other important factor is tracking. Track in a way that feels natural. Some of my clients like checklists, others like a simple reflection at the end of the week. Did I do it? How did I feel? The key is making it feel affirming and not guilt-based. Take Clara, for example. When she started, she was stuck in emotional eating cycles. We didn't overhaul her entire diet. Instead, we focused on a few micro habits: pausing for one deep breath before eating, and a 5-minute evening reflection. Within weeks, she felt more grounded and consistent than she had in months. That's really the power of micro habits. No more all or nothing cycles, no more guilt spirals when life gets messy, just steady, sustainable progress that feels light. The big secret is motivation is unreliable. Systems are what carry you through, and micro habits are the simplest system of all. Okay, now on to pillar 3. So let's tackle one of the most common struggles: food and movement. You might think the reason you can't stick to a plan is lack of willpower. So you've tried restrictive diets, you've done 30-day shred programs, you've forced yourself to the gym for workouts you hated. And each time you ended up feeling deprived, exhausted, and like you were constantly failing. Here's the truth: up to 95% of diets fail, and most people regain the weight within 1 to 5 years. Not because they're broken, but because diet culture isn't built for sustainability. It's built to keep you starting over. The real root cause is disconnection. When you follow plans that ignore your preferences, your schedule, your body's cues, food becomes punishment instead of nourishment. Movement becomes something you dread, not something that energizes you. So how do we change that? We just bring it back to joy and simplicity. Here's what I guide my clients to do. First, you pick 1 to 2 simple meals each week. These are meals that you enjoy, that feel nourishing, that don't take an hour to prepare, and you rotate them. The next step is to create a 5-item go-to menu. These are a handful of meals that you can always fall back on so you're not stuck in decision fatigue every night about what to have for dinner. The next step is to schedule 2 to 3 short movement sessions per week, even just 10 to 20 minutes. Walks, dancing, yoga, whatever feels good. The next step is to replace food rules with attuned eating. Instead of obsessing over calories, checking in with hunger and satisfaction cues. And here's my story. For years, I tracked every calorie. I followed clean eating rules to the letter, and yet was anxious, I was disconnected, and exhausted. The breakthrough came when I finally asked, how does this food make me feel? That one question shifted everything. Eating eventually became enjoyable again, and my energy soared. Then there's Sheila, a client of mine. She had years of food anxiety, so we didn't start with a strict plan. We started with adding one extra veggie to her meals. Over time, she built a flexible routine of simple, enjoyable foods, and she told me for the first time she felt free. So the benefit here is freedom. It's a joyful, flexible approach to food and movement that you can maintain for life. Energy without deprivation. Trust in your body instead of fighting against it. Because the truth is, your body already knows how to take care of you. You just need to learn how to listen again. This approach works because it's rooted in behavioral psychology, LGBTQ+ affirming care, and years of holistic health training. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters consistently. Clients experience more energy with less guilt. They experience clarity about what actually matters. They trust in their bodies again. And it's not just theory, these are real lived transformations. So if you're ready to stop chasing wellness and start living it, here's how we can work together. I work with a small number of professionals each quarter. Together, over 12 weeks, we will reclaim 4 to 5 hours a week. We will build 6 or more sustainable micro habits. We will create a flexible, personalized wellness foundation for you that actually lasts. And this is for you if you're tired of rigid plans and ready for an affirming, compassionate approach. It's not for you if you want a rigid meal plan or quick fix. And spots are limited because this is deep, personalized work. So if your body is whispering yes, I'd really love to connect. And let's explore if this is the right fit for you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you walk away knowing that you already have what it takes. You don't need more willpower. You need self-trust, small steps, and a rhythm that fits your life. And that's exactly what we can build together.